Hey, good morning. Granny Gear here for Old Guy on a Bike. And on this Tech Tuesday video, I just want to take a quick look at some new products that have come through the Granny Gear garage. Let's see what we've got. Well, let's begin with a couple new saddles from Wilderness Trail Bikes, aka WTB. Now, I've used quite a few WTB saddles in my time riding bikes. Some of them I've liked, some of them I haven't. And that points out one thing about saddles and reviewing or testing saddles. What I like, you may not like. What you like, I may not like. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, so keep that in mind. But the two new saddles we're looking at today from WTB, they are the Solano and the Solano SL. The Solano, as you can see, is one of the short-nosed types of saddles that seems to be taking over saddles in general. Are getting shorter and shorter. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You can see it has a pretty large relief notch in the middle, not a complete cutout. It's a fairly flat-ish type of saddle. This one happens to be tie rails. The width on this is 142 wide and 240 long with a fit range, it says, between 110 and 125 millimeters, which I'm going to assume is the width of your sit bones if you've ever measured your sit bones with a, I don't know, butt caliper or something, but there is that. But I'd say it's generally what I would consider a medium width saddle. That is the Solano. This is the Solano SL. When you say Granny Gear, except for the sticker I hadn't peeled off, looks the same to me. Well, there is a difference. The Solano has more padding than the Solano SL. It is just a more padded saddle. Other than that, the base and the shape and everything else dimensions pretty much the same, which is kind of nice because, you know, there's a trend these days to ride without chamois. Now, I don't do that. Mrs. Granny Gear does. Buddy Dennis, who you might have seen in some of my videos, tends to ride without a chamois. Now, I use both of these saddles on my gravel bike on the Turner Cyclosis I have behind me here. And what I found was I generally liked them very much. I found them to be a rather neutral kind of saddle fit. There wasn't anything that stood out about them in that sense. They were generally quite comfortable and I could have ridden them. One thing I have noticed though, with more padded saddles like the Solano as opposed to the SL, I have found that with a more padded saddle, even if it's nicely supported in the shell like these are, I get a little hot spots in them. I tend to sink into them over time. And so while it was, for me, the Solano was comfortable in a short duration ride, once I got over a couple hours, I began to kind of squirm around. Where the SL version with less padding, just a few millimeters, couple millimeters less, with the same shell and the same shape, I found that was much more comfortable for me over longer rides. Both of these saddles use their new fusion form technology, which really fine-tunes the base of the saddle, and it has what they call the comfort zone here. It's a little place where the shell is actually cut out and relieved, and you see that shiny? I can actually push my finger there into the padding inside. Now, my preference is to have a saddle with a complete cutout. So while I found both of these to be very comfortable, and there is quite a bit of pressure relief in them, I like a complete cutout. For instance, probably my favorite saddle right now for the gravel bike, and I think I'm actually going to move to it on a couple other bikes as well, is the WTB Gravelier. Now that is a little bit slightly different shape than this, still a short saddle. I'll show you a picture of it. I have it mounted on my Turner Cyclosis behind me right now. One thing I like about having a complete cutout is if the chamois is a little bit bunchy, or if you've got baggy shorts and a chamois under it, that gets to be a fair amount of material. I just find that a complete cutout gives the extra material a place to go, if you will, and just gives me a little bit more room for, well, not exactly breathing, but you know what I mean. So anyway, Solano and Solano SL, I like them. I didn't say I absolutely love them, but if you told me which one would you ride, Granny Gear? Well, I would ride the SL and probably be quite happy with that to the end of time. All right, that is the WTB Solano and Solano SL. Well, if you've never heard of KOM Cycling, well, I first saw them when they started making computer mounts and things, you know, the out front mounts for your bike computers and Garmin's and Wahoos and whatnot. And then they make a whole bunch of stuff like that, well, and much more. And they just came out with a new product. Well, I think it's really rather unique. I'm going to show it to you right now. Now, to begin with, this is not a review of this product because I haven't really taken it out and used it. I took it out and played with it, looked at it, pretty impressed. And the reason I haven't used it isn't because it isn't something that I think it's going to work well. It's more just that it really isn't the type of thing that I have much of a need for. So I hadn't, but I want to show it to you because I think for the right person, well, it seems to be very well done, and I think a lot of people could very well appreciate what this does. Now, this is the KOM Cycling Quick Release Light in the 1000 lumen version. Now, 1000 lumens, if you don't know, is kind of a way of rating how bright an LED light is. You know, we might say watts in the sense of like, you know, a 100-watt light bulb. Well, lumens is what they use for LEDs and brightness. 1000 lumens is pretty bright. I think that gets to the point where it's pretty useful for road riding, and depending upon the beam pattern it's designed for, you can ride pretty fast with a 1000 lumen light. Now, I haven't gone out and ridden this, so I don't know the beam pattern. Looking at it, I would say is a nice even round flood with very little artifacts and a center weighted spot. So just by shining it around, basically, I think it would do the job very nicely just for general purpose riding. Now, let's take a look at the light because it has, well, a couple really unique features that kind of make it stand out. I haven't really seen anything quite like it. Let's take a look. So this is the light itself, the 1000 lumen version. I'll put the weight up on the screen, but it's a rather weighty little light. It's pretty solid. It looks like it's quite well made. Doesn't look in any way cheap at all. It is, of course, rechargeable like all these kind of lights are. It's got a little recharging port here at the bottom, and it has a little leash port at the back. It comes with adapters for Garmin and Wahoo, so you can outfit with the two different main kinds of mounts. And you can see one of the things that's unique about it, the top of it has a little Garmin mount receptacle, and the bottom of it has the other side of a Garmin mount. So why in the world would that have something on top and on bottom? Let's see why. All right, so let's begin with this. Now, this is something that KOM also sent out. What do they call this? The Computer Mount Bundle Set. Obviously, an out front mount. And by the way, this is a very sturdy out front mount. Some of these mounts you get on Amazon, etc., they're a little bit wimpy. Not this thing. This thing is stout. Now, notice, it has the top mount, and you can put a Garmin or Wahoo compatible, you know, little puck insert in there. And it has the bottom as well for a Garmin insert. So here's what we can do with this light. We can take this light, this little quick release light, and we can insert it into, oh, and by the way, this also comes in Garmin or Wahoo versions, and you can replace this little part. That comes with the light. So all kinds of options. Now, if we make this, put this into the mount like you would a typical Garmin mount, if I can get it in there and turn it. It's hard to do when I'm holding everything. Okay, so now, obviously, we have put a light into our Garmin mount, which, you know, that's kind of cool, right? Except, well, there's a couple things wrong with that. One is, well, where do we put our computer? Okay, that's the first thing. Now, most of the time when you have your computer mount mounted, it's angled up so you can see it. Well, see where the light's pointing? It's really great for spotting airplanes and shining in the back of semis or something, but it ain't going to get down the road, isn't it? Well, watch this. With the quick release mount light in the 1000 lumen version, it's got a little trick up its sleeve. How about that, huh? 3 clicks down to a 30-degree difference. Now, if you have your mount out, say your Garmin mount's inclined to about here, well, now you've got quite a bit of adjustability to get that beam pointed where you want it. Pretty slick, huh? Somebody was thinking. And yet, there's more. Now, that's all fine and good, but you would say, and rightly so, Granny Gear, I don't have any place to put my computer anymore. Oh, but watch this. I will take my Coros Dura, if I can do that with my other hand. I'm not exactly left-handed. And now notice. See that little Garmin receptacle on top? I can put my Garmin compatible Coros Dura in there, turn it till it goes clicky click, voila. Nicely stacked light and computer all in one. And when I don't want the light anymore, well, I just take the light off, put my computer back on, and go ride away. Now you'd say, Granny Gear, that's pretty cool, but what if I would rather have the light underneath my computer mount? What about that, huh? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Because what we can do with this mount, if we want to, is we can put the light underneath the mount instead of on top. And of course now we still have the little adjustable light head, so we can point that where we want. And if you want to fine tune the light even more, it has 3 clicks, and these are solid. They're not going to like flop and move while you're riding in bumps. You could always, if you needed to get it just right, slightly tweak your computer mount, right? Because that little difference probably isn't going to make difference to your eye, but it could get the light right where you want it. Now, of course, I can now, of course, just run my computer on top, just like that. Now, isn't that slick? I think they were really thinking about this. Now, here's something to keep in mind. It's a good thing this mount is beefy because all this weighs quite a bit. The light and the computer and all of that, that's a lot hanging out there. So this mount, to accommodate this, has to be made pretty well. I suppose there are other mounts on the market that would have a Garmin mount on the bottom like this and a Garmin mount on top. I don't know. This is the first one I've seen, but maybe there are others. But if I was going to use something like this, I think honestly, if I was going to buy this light, I probably would buy the bracket too, or at least the bracket I have, I'd want it to be significant, okay? Because I'm afraid over time it would either just shake around if it was wimpy, or you maybe even break it. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think the KOM mount in this case looks like it's up to the task. Now, one thing I noticed while I was playing around with this whole setup, putting it on something that isn't the KOM supplied mount. So when I put it in the KOM mount and I click it in, let's get this thing in here, it's pretty well in there. You can see it has a little bit, it's hard to see on camera, a very small amount of side-to-side rocking. It's pretty solid. It's going to have a little bit of vibration maybe, just in the way the mount is when you're riding it, so the light might bounce a little bit. Probably not too bad. This is pretty solid. But when I took this and I mounted it on the K-Edge mount that's on top of my, my stem here, it's kind of the way I use my computer mount for my gravel bike. I don't know if you can see it here in the video, I'll show you. When I clip it in, it has an awful lot of rocking motion play to it, where the light is kind of rocking side to side, not this drastically. Hopefully you can see it in the video. So I'm not sure what to think of that. That's an older mount. It could be that the little insert puck is just worn, or maybe it really isn't a really good fit for some reason for this light. So I just thought I'd mention that, because if you buy this and you use it at something like this K-Edge mount, which certainly is strong enough to support this light, the way it's mounted to the stem and all that, I'm not sure if all that extra motion in there would be so great for the light. If it's jiggly and jiggly, that can be kind of annoying. I don't think that's going to happen with their mount, which maybe is another good reason to use the KOM mount. Okay, just something to consider. All right, thanks to WTB and to KOM for providing these samples to me at no charge. I was not encouraged to say lovely flowery things about them, but I think the saddles are very well done. WTB, they know how to make great saddles, and if you're looking for something like this, well, I think it's certainly worth trying. And the KOM, well, that is a very cool, I think, out-of-the-box kind of product, and it does solve some issues where if you put your light on your computer mount, it ain't pointing in the right place. Well, this gives you some options. All right, you guys have a great week and or weekend, and as always, you go ride your bikes.